Here we go. Sankirtan ki jai. Hare Krishna. Good morning. Dobrodošli. That's for those who are in Croatian. We have one Croatian devotee here. That's the same. Yeah, saying Dobro Utra. Yeah, that's it. Dobrodošli means welcome. Dobro Utra means good morning. Okay. So, when Srila Prabhupada just arrived in America, getting off the boat, he wrote one particular poem about his upcoming mission in spreading Krishna consciousness in the Western world. And that was called Markim Bhagavat Dharma. Famous poem where he glorifies the Lord. He speaks about his own disqualifications to do this great work of spreading Sanatana Dharma to the Western world. And he prays to Krishna for mercy and prays to become Krishna's obedient servant. In the poem, Prabhupada included 5 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And these 5 verses are fundamental to the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness. I'm going to read one verse, which is the first one. No, actually the second one. The first verse he wrote, mentioned. And then I'll go on to give class on the next verse. So this verse, Shushushra Dadadan Yasya Vasudeva Kata Ruchi Shanmya Seva Vipra Purnyateva Nasevana. This is fundamental to the whole practice of Krishna consciousness. What is that? The mood of service. In this material world, let me start again. Om Gyantimidandasya Gana Jana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya Desatarine Vancha Kalpa Turubhischa Vyasindhu Bevacha Vatitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation. And this is the speaker of Bhagavatam, who is actually heading up the whole group of devotees, which is called the gathering at a holy place in India called Namisharan. And he's speaking about what is the essence of the practice of devotional service. And he calls all of the persons sitting, he says, O twice born sages. We take our first birth from our parents, that is called birth, we understand that. But there's a second birth, the birth into the spirit, and that is given by the spiritual teachers. So he goes on by saying, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. And by such service, one gains an affinity, an attraction, for hearing the message of Vasudeva. So the principle of service is fundamental, or you might say innate, within the quality of the living being. We're always serving. In this material world, we serve. We serve our families, we serve our friends, we serve our boss. And in different relationships, we're always in the mood of doing something for somebody. It might be for some personal gain, or it might be free from personal gain. But we're always in a mood of service. And sometimes when we have no one to serve, we keep a dog or a cat so we can serve. Everyone wants to have a relationship with some living entities, and the mood of relationship, which is the foundation for successful relationships, is the mood of service, which is part of our nature. We're always serving. Sometimes we serve because we want to get something from the service, and sometimes we do it as a duty, and sometimes we do it simply to give pleasure to the object we serve. But we're always serving. So now, what is that service that is the best of all service? It's mentioned here, serving great souls. Those who are fixed in the practice of spiritual life. By serving them, they are representing the Supreme Lord in this world. They're called spiritual masters, holy men, sadhus, saints. By serving them, they connect us with the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna, or whatever name of God you want to use, but still it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by such service, it says here, it's the best of all service. Why? Because it connects you with your eternal relationship with God. And when the object of service is pleased, and that is the actual goal, to please the object of service, then you become connected to Krishna. in a very, we say, direct way. So that's the first verse. I'm going to focus on the next verse, which is the essence of the practice of spiritual life. So I'll read the Sanskrit. Maybe those of you who know the verse, you can chant with me. Shrinvata swakata Krishna Punya Shravane Kirtanaha Hridyantasto Yavadrani Vidunoti Saritsatam. Translation. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, very intricately explains what is Krishna's position. So, then what? He cleanses desires for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed an urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So what is being said here is that the principle of realizing or connecting with the Supreme Lord through the mercy of the spiritual person is to glorify God. We did that this morning. We had kirtan. That's glorification of God. We worship God's devotee, the spiritual master. And we hear about the glories of God, which is also worshiping the glories of God. Even if we don't speak them, if we hear them, it is simply just as good as speaking them. Hearing and speaking is equal within the confines or within the circles of spiritual activities. So here, and when the Lord sees that, oh, this devotee wants to learn about me, he wants to hear about me. So the Lord steps in. And then what does he do? He takes away all of those blocks that we have accumulated due to our association with the material energy, and he makes the process of bhakti, or the path of bhakti, open or easy. He does it when he sees us eager. So the first principle, as explained in spiritual circles for execution of devotional service, is enthusiasm. We have to be enthusiastic about the process and the way we see the process and the way we execute the process. That's enthusiasm. Utsahan. It's called utsahan. Utsaha. Utsaha. Utsaha, nishtaya, daryat. There's three principles. Enthusiasm, and then sometimes we run into obstacles. Utsaha, nishtaya means determination. Despite the obstacles, we continue to execute our activities in devotional service. And then the third is nishchaya, which means patience. That the results may not come immediately. Good things come in time. Cheap things come easy. You want to buy something, you dial up Amazon, you get it the next day. You can't do that with spiritual life. You can practice it, but the results will come in due course of time. But it works. The process works, but it takes some patience. So never get discouraged by what we say, happiness and distress, or ups and downs, or difficulties. These are simply opportunities to increase our enthusiasm. They say, there's an old saying, there's no atheists in the foxholes. Right? When you're under pressure, then you give all you can. Of course, some people give up, but that is not the way of success. Therefore, in devotional service, there may be some difficulties. What is the difficulties? Well, we still have desires to enjoy separately from the Lord, and we still try to fulfill those desires. And when we try to fulfill those desires, we not block, but we delay our progress in devotional service. It slows it down. So here, we'll go into the explanations given by Srila Prabhupada. So it's a little long, so please listen up. Messages of the personality of God as Sri Krishna are non-different from him. That's powerful. So God and glorification of God, or words about God, is just as good as God. And you think, wow, how's that possible? There's God and then there's God's words. But here it says it's the same. Like, because in this world, this is the world of duality. You see something in relationship to something else and it's defined in relationship. There's no such thing as good unless you understand what is bad. There's no such thing as darkness unless you have light. Everything is in opposite in this world. This is the world of duality. We see things, or we define things, we understand things by its opposite. But in the spiritual world, there's no opposite. Everything is the way it is. So the Krishna, or the Supreme Lord, and the words about him are just as good as him. They're non-different, although it takes a different form. Just like when we say, when you chant Hare Krishna, you're actually associating with God in sound, in his transcendental name, which means is just as good as associating him with him directly, because his name and he who is named and the name itself is the same. But how do you understand that? By experience, not by philosophy. Philosophy just gives you an idea how the experience may come, but it's by experience that we understand things that are beyond our level of understanding. Okay? So messages of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, are non-different from him. So when we hear about Krishna, we're actually connecting with Krishna. Whenever, therefore, a fenceless hearing and glorification of God are undertaken, it is understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. So here is a very important part, that when we take part in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and remembering the glories and inspiring others to do the same, we're actually bringing in the personality of Godhead through transcendental sound. He becomes personally present. And you can experience that by the transformation of the atmosphere and by your own consciousness. You start to feel different. You start to feel light. Your mind starts to feel happy. And then all of a sudden, knowledge comes. And when knowledge comes, it becomes easy to understand when we glorify the Lord. Because the essence of all spiritual practice in any religious tradition is to glorify God. God is all glory. I remember I was watching one TV show when I was a kid, and it was about the devil. This is back in the 1960s. They had these very interesting TV shows. Now it's just a lot of garbage. But in those days it was a little different. So there was one TV show where the devil, he would walk around and he would find somebody and say, I'll give you material happiness, all the money you ever want or even desire, if you, at the end of life, you give your soul to me. That means you go to hell. But you can have heaven now, and I'll make sure you get everything you want. Satan. That was the TV show. They had this personality playing the devil. So in one of the episodes, there was one man, he said, well, yeah, that's nice, but who are you? I mean, what's your history? How do I know what you're saying? He said, well, I used to be an angel in heaven. And all we did was circle around God and sing his glories all the time. But I got tired of that. I wanted to be the person whose glories to be sung. So I made my petition and they kicked me out of heaven. And so here I am. So he wanted to be the center. So that's our problem. When we want to be the center, we take God out of the center, and then we struggle in our life. So keeping God in the center means glorifying God. Srinvata Smaka. In other words, hearing about him, chanting about him, remembering him, and of course worshiping him. So here it goes on to say, in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his prayers called the Six Shaksaka, declares clearly that the holy name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potency. If any of you have any questions about what is being said, you can speak your questions now. If you feel like you get stuck on some of this, or if you want, you can hold them to the end. But if you feel like you can raise your hand now, and we'll try to deal with it. And here it gives you the relaxed requirements. There's no time, and one can chant any time, any place, with attention and reverence at their convenience. The Lord is so kind that he can be present before us in transcendental sound. We're coming back to the essence, sound vibration. Sound vibration is the most powerful force in nature. Even on the material level, sound works all the time. Sight, it goes in and out. Experiences are never constant. The sense of touch is also intermittent. But sound is always there, even while you're sleeping. If you're sleeping and there's something happening and it makes some noise, you wake up. Although you're sleeping, sound has a way to bring you back to normal consciousness. Sound is powerful. But here we're talking about spiritual sound. And that's so, spiritual sound, when it enters into the ear holes, what does it do? And it says, but unfortunately, we don't have much of a taste for hearing about the glories of the Lord. And we have discussed how to do that. It is done through the medium of service to the great souls, the pure devotees. The Lord is reciprocally responded to his devotees when he sees that a devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service. He thus becomes eager to hear about men. Then the Lord acts from within the devotee in such that the devotee can easily come back to him at the end of life. The Lord is more anxious to take us back to the kingdom of God than we can desire. Most of us don't want to go back. We like it here. We think we can be spiritual and at the same time enjoy this material world. Most of us desire not at all to go back. Only a few want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who does, the Lord helps him in all respects. So we can't make it by ourselves. But we can show the Lord how eager we are through glorifying the Lord and serving those persons who are serving the Lord, the great souls. When the Lord sees that, then he helps. And when he helps, you're guaranteed success. If you think you can make it on your own, it's what we say, what do we call it? Pride or arrogance. To reach the kingdom of God, or even to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which we can't see, but we can understand that sound, we have to be, what we say, willing to accept his guidance. Once we accept his guidance, it becomes easy. One cannot enter the kingdom of God and one is perfectly cleared of all sins. Wow, that sounds pretty strong, right? I'm so sinful, how can I ever get in? But the material sins are products of our desires to enjoy this material world. It's very difficult to get rid of such desires. But attraction to the opposite sex and wealth are the very difficult problems for devotees making progress back to Godhead. Many have fallen down because of these, what we say, allurements. When one is helped by the Lord himself, the whole process becomes easy as anything. So back to Krishna's there, he's ready to help us, but he wants to see how much you want him. He wants to see how much you want him. To become restless in contact with material energy, because in the time immemorial we have been associated. This is not our first birth in this world. Maya lavase, kacho bese, kacho ho bubu dubai. In life after life, we take birth, and just look around. Everyone has a different body. Many of us are from different cultures and different, what we say, what is it, different genders, different cultures, different nationalities. Why isn't everybody the same? Because due to our karma in the last life, we take birth in a certain way. So this goes on life after life. We're changing bodies always. One time we're in a good material situation, another time we may be in not so good material situation, depending on our activities in the previous life. So that's how we understand the diversity within this world. It's not simply by chance that somebody takes birth in a certain family or in a certain culture, has a certain mother and father, has certain tendencies even at a young age. All of this is due to our past births. In a cumulative way, not only your previous births, but in a cumulative way of all the births that we have, life after life after life. But the benediction is if we get a human birth, which is rare, you might say, wow, how can you say that? There's so many human beings, but if you compare all of the living entities in existence, the human beings are in the smallest number. There are more trees, plants, animals, insects, birds, aquatics, so many other forms of life that are much more numerous. Just like in this room, there's millions of germs here. But the germs are also spiritual beings because they have a germ body. You can't see them because they're microscopic or they're even invisible, but they exist. If you do a little cleaning here, you'll find a few roaches and some ants running around here and there. You don't see them. But the lower living entities are much more numerous. But if you get a human form of life, you're considered to be fortunate. Why? Why is it fortunate? Because at this particular point in our existence, after going through many species of life, we can make a solution to all the problems of life. That means we can attain eternal happiness and eternal knowledge by practicing the process of devotional service. So this is the benefit of human life. Human life is not simply meant to be wealthy or to have a nice position in this world or have a beautiful family with so many opulences that come along. These things are, even the animals have many of these things, and they're done in a better way. The human form of life is to understand who we are and to go back to the spiritual world. In other words, to understand God. So it's mentioned here. So it's difficult, as it says here. But if one is engaged in hearing the glories of the Lord, gradually, now the word gradually is important, he realizes his real position. They say all good things come in time. Sometimes people want instant Krishna consciousness. Doesn't work. It's a matter of applying yourself to the process, but the process is susukham. Sukham means happy, and su means very happy. It's a joyful process of learning. It's not simply a dry thing where you hear, don't do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. That's not very inspiring, especially for adults. Kids don't like it either, but adults really don't like it. It's a fact. Our process is, do this, and you will stop doing whatever else you're doing, which is not necessarily good for you. It's a process of, the verse is, when you get something better, you can give up something less. So this betterment is the happiness that we experience in the execution of devotional service, which centers around not only glorifying the Lord, but in association with others. When we do it together, it becomes wonderful. Just sit in your room and try to be happy by yourself. You're always looking for someone to be with, to share your life, to experience. Life means relationships. But the ultimate relationship is God. When we develop a relationship with God, it becomes natural to develop relationships with others because everyone is part of God. Everyone is connected with God, and God sees everyone equally. He doesn't make discriminations. Oh, this person is better than this. No. God loves each and every living being perfectly and completely, without judgmental. He sees every living being as being his own son or daughter, and he does whatever he can to attract us to him through the process of worshiping him like that. So it says, by the grace of God, such a devotee gets sufficient strength, not just strength, to defend himself in the case of turbulences that may come by living in this world. And the last line, and gradually all disturbing elements are eliminated from the mind. You actually become fully happy, free from all distress and anxiety. Automatically. Yeah, just like if you're hungry, that's a problem. But if you eat, you satisfy your hunger and you feel happy. You also get nourishment, you get strength. So when you take on Krishna consciousness, you're gradually getting free from the anxieties that come by living in this world. You're feeling the happiness that comes by connecting with God through spiritual sound. And the mind is becoming peaceful. It's natural. Spiritual life is actually part of your actual existence. We are spiritual beings. We are a spiritual being with a body and not a body with a spirit. Some people get it the other way around. This is me, this body, but I have a spirit. No, you are the spirit, and the body is just given to you at the time of birth, and you lose that at the time of death, and if you have to come back, you get a new one. It's just life after life. But you can stop that, what we say, samskara. Samskara means going from body to situation, by simply becoming, what we say, connected to God in devotion. And this is done through transcendental sound. I'll quote one verse, Satam prasangam mama viryasam vido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata. Rasayana kata, not just kata, rasayana kata. Rasayan means that nectar, sweetness, that the ear becomes charmed by hearing the glories of the Lord, the heart becomes happy, and the devotee becomes peaceful. So this is the process. And the essence of that is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, Golokera, Plemadana, Harinam, Shankirtan, Ratin Janmi Lokene Upari. It's coming not from anywhere in this world, it's coming from the spiritual world, this chanting. But where does it go when it comes? It goes into the hearts of the pure devotees, the great souls, the saints, who live it, and then by their mercy they spread it to everyone. So this chanting is the essence of the spiritual practice and the most important part of transcendental sound vibration. There is many forms of sound vibration, transcendental sound vibration, but the essence is the Hare Krishna mantra. As Krishna says, Kali Kale, Namarupa, Krishna Avatar, Namahoite, Hayasarva Jagat Nistara. That the Lord comes in the form of his name. He descends. The name is the avatar of the Lord in this age. And therefore, one who takes up this chanting regularly will actually, who is God? What is my relationship with God? And how to live in this world free from anxiety. All of this comes Just like if you have $1,000,000, you have $1,000. You have $100. So all of your smaller debts are easily taken care of by a large amount of wealth. So similarly, when you connect with God, all of your problems are gone. And what is our problem? We think we can be happy separate from God. That's our problem. But when we connect with God, we'll start to realize that this is what we're looking for. And this comes through this transcendental sound vibration of chanting the holy names of the Lord. And the Lord is easily available in His name. It's anyone can chant anytime, any place, anywhere. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarvasaktis Tatarpita Niyamita Smarane Nakalaha Etadasri Tavakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaivam Idrisam Mihajani Nanduragaha. That there's no rules, no regulations, no restrictions. Anyone can chant anytime, any place, anywhere. The qualification is two. You have to have two ears and a tongue. Anybody need any of those items? No, I don't think so. We're all fully equipped at the time of birth with all of the paraphernalia needed. So this is the Lord's mercy. He makes Himself easily available in this sound vibration. And chanting is nice. Chanting is in two forms: japa, by oneself, meditation, and in kirtan, which we did today, singing, dancing, glorifying the Lord that way. Both of these are important, although kirtan appears to give us a faster experience. Still, japa is very, very important. Because when we chant japa on the beads, we're actually connecting with God in a very personal way. And Krishna is in the heart. He manifests Himself in the hearts of all living entities, as mentioned in the very beginning of this verse. By the super soul means God in the heart. So He's the closest thing to you. Even your friends, your family members are not as close to you as God is. He's in your heart. But we have to find Him in the heart. He's there. He's called Gupta. Gupta means hidden. But how do we find Him? By chanting His name, and then we can actually awaken our experience of God within the heart. And He's very kind. He likes to help the devotees become Krishna conscious. So He's always talking to us, even while we are, whatever we're doing in life, He's reminding us what we should be doing. That's His mercy. He's not demanding, He's just giving. But why does he not demand? Because He knows you have to choose yourself. He makes it attractive, but ultimately we have to choose. He tries to make it as attractive as can. And of course, if we fail to somehow or other accept His mercy in the sweet form, the mercy comes in another form. What is that? Suffering. Suffering. So when we fail to take the mercy of God, we have to suffer. And we wonder, why are we suffering? Well, there's a way out of the suffering. It's not about the American Medical Association. It's about making our connection with the Supreme Lord, actually. And then when we're connected with God, there's no more suffering. And even if there is some difficulty, it's so easily overcome simply by our connection with God. This is the mercy of the Lord. And He's there, constantly with us, as it says here. He cleanses all of our difficulties, which we have accumulated due to our desire to live in this world. And He makes His message is very clear and easy to understand. So this is a wonderful process. It centers around hearing about God and chanting the glories of God. Like that. And when we read the scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, Sri Upanishads, We get a deep philosophical insight about the nature of the spiritual world. Who is God? What does he do? We learn about God in all of his activities. He's a person. We call him the supreme person. He has activities. He has likes. Just like you have likes and dislikes, he also is the same. He has relationships. Everything that we see within our own self is there in God, but in a pure way. Here it's in a abrogated way, you might say a mixed way. It's not pure. We want to be happy in relationships with others, but we always find there's always difficulties in there. But with your relationship with Krishna, there's no difficulty. All is based on one thing: serve the Lord. That's all. And the best way to serve the Lord is to glorify the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And then it says, it mentions here by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, the process becomes easy. It's not difficult. And what is difficult is to stop our nonsense. We don't want to stop our nonsense. And that makes spiritual life difficult. Soon as we give up this desire to think, I can be happy without God, and then focus our attention on the Lord, then everything becomes easy. So easy. It's these blocks that seem to interfere with our relationship with. But that's easily overcome through the sound vibration of chanting. This chanting not only brings you connected with God, it destroys all of the blocks that are there in our life. What is the blocks? Lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, envy, fear. These are called the enemies of the mind. And they attack us from time to time. But if we keep Krishna in the mind and chant the glories of the mind, then there's no entrance of these, what we say, enemies. We're the enemies of the soul, these different features. And they're actually very powerful in this age, especially. But the holy name is Krishna himself in sound, so it's more powerful than all of the enemies combined. We take shelter of the holy name, chant the holy name, and associate with devotees. How do you associate with devotees? You think of ways to serve them. What can I do for you? How can I serve you? And then you think of different ways, and Krishna will give you some intelligence how to serve like that. Ladies like to cook. The men like to give their intelligence based on their occupations. These are all ways to serve. We can serve in so many different ways. We can clean. We can cook. What else can we do? We can organize the temple. We can worship the deity. There's so many ways to serve. Serving is unlimited. So if we think of different ways, let me do some service, then we're really connecting with the whole process of bhakti. Because it's all about service. We're serving in this world, just take that service and direct it towards the spiritual realm, and then it becomes, what we say, purified or elevating, freed from all kinds of anxieties and fear. You see people in the material world, what is the biggest problem in the material world? People are in anxiety. Will I get what I want? Even if I get it, will it make me happy? They're always in anxiety. They're afraid of losing something. They're afraid of not getting something. Devotees don't worry about that because they have nothing to gain and nothing to lose. Because what they have Krishna, they have everything. And even if they don't have everything material, they're still happy. Material success is not a requirement for spiritual progress. In fact, it's almost like it can be a block. Seems like those who are more impoverished in this world are in better positions to make spiritual advancement. Because there's certain pride that comes with material success that doesn't allow you to really call out feelingly to God. When you are surrounded by material success, you think, yeah, God's there, and I'm okay. How long will you be okay? You might look at it within a few moments, but time changes everything. Time changes everything. What is good at one time becomes the opposite in due course of time, and vice versa. So, yeah. So, it says, what is it? Manaso deho geho, you get you more, arpilum tu alpade, nanda kishore. Then Bhaktivinoda, the great spiritual proponent in our Krishna conscious line, he says, my wife, my family, my children, my money, my body, my dear Lord, it's yours. It belongs to you. Let me use it in your service. You can still use it and enjoy it, but let me share it and give it to you in service. And then it becomes wonderful. Yeah, it's true. There was one devotee, he joined our movement, and he was quite wealthy. He was from India. He had many, many factories and activities and places around the world. And then he became a devotee. And when he became his devotee, his business increased 8 times, 800%. So he was thinking, yeah, ever since I became the devotee and I was giving whatever I could to Krishna, he was giving me more. You give time to Krishna, gives you more time. If you give money to Krishna, he gives you more money. If you give your knowledge to Krishna, it increases. In the material world, when you give something away, it becomes less. But in the spiritual world, when you give something, it expands that item you're giving. It becomes wonderful. So that's the nature of spirit. We have nothing to lose. If we just give our time and whatever Krishna has given us, and try to use it in service. They say use your intelligence to serve, use your words to serve, use your resources to serve, and ultimately the best thing is give your life. Because where did you get life from? From God. So when you say give your life, you're not giving him anything, it's his anyway. He gave it to you. You're simply reciprocating by acknowledging what he gave to you. That's all. That's God. And he's very kind. He doesn't want anything from us. He just wants our devotion, our service, because he knows it's good for us. He's satisfied in himself. God needs nothing. We have a term for God called Atmarama, self-satisfied. He has nothing outside of himself. But one thing he does want, he wants us to stop suffering. And so he makes all arrangements to help us to get out of our suffering. And when he sees that, he becomes happy. So we can make God happy by becoming connected to God in devotion. Like that. And the essence, again, is sound vibration. To glorify God, to speak about God. You might say, well, I'm a householder, I have family, I have responsibilities. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Mahiyanya. He was traveling in South India. He went to a place in South India called Kurmashetra. And while he was there, he met one Brahmana, a priestly person, who invited him to his house and said, stay with me while you stay in Kurmashetra. The Lord was very pleased with him and stood. He stood 4 days. The man gave his whole family all of his energy, time. He cooked. He did everything on a personal level to make the Lord, comfortable. After 4 days, the Lord decided to leave, and then he just left. And while he was leaving, the Brahmana, the head of the family, started to follow him. And the Lord turned around and said, where are you going? He said, I'm going with you. How can you do that? You have your family. You have your responsibility. Then he rejected that. He said, no, I want to go with you. The Lord wasn't pleased with that. He said, you go back, you stay with your family, and if you want to be with me, you can do two things, and you'll never lose my association. What is that? Anyone you meet, tell them about Krishna. Anyone you want to meet, teach them to chant Hare Krishna. He said, if you do that, by my command, be guru, save the land. That way you'll never lose my association. So life means to share what you have with others. If you have something good and you want to make someone happy, then you share what makes you happy with others. That is called love. They say that in what is it? In the Christian tradition, to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. What does it mean to love your neighbor as yourself? To give what makes you happy and share it with others. And so what we have is our connection with God through devotional service. When we share that with others and teach them also, then God becomes very, very, not just pleased, extremely pleased. And then if he's pleased, then the door to spiritual life is wide open. So yeah, become Krishna conscious and share with others. And becoming Krishna consciousness is not difficult, provided we take it seriously. That's the important thing. We have to make it a priority in our life. And what's the essence? Chant Hare Krishna. Take time every day and chant the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That sound vibration, when it's continuously repeated, starts to change the consciousness of our mind, and we feel peaceful, we feel happy. And gradually, after feeling happy, we start to feel really happy. We use a little bit of a progression. First you feel peaceful, then you feel happy, then you feel joyful, then you feel ecstatic, then you feel bliss, and then you go mad. Spiritually mad. The madness of too much happiness. It's there, it's available. That is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He's opened up the storehouse of love of God, and he's giving it to anyone who simply chants this holy name and tries to give it to others. These are the requirements. And don't find fault with others. He says, two things. You want my mercy? Chant the holy name and become a doshadarshi. A doshadarshi means don't see the faults of others. Even if there is a fault in somebody, it's not important. Just push it. Look for the good qualities in everyone, and that way you'll always be happy. If you find faults in others, it makes you unhappy. That person is not affected. You are. Your negativity and consciousness affects you. So it's not so important everybody's faults. Even if it is a fault, it may not be a fault. We may see it that way. Just to somehow or other see the good in everyone. And in that way, you'll always be peaceful and happy in this world. And you'll be able to execute devotional service with the mind free from anxiety. So Lord Chaitanya has made that a prerequisite to get his full mercy. Adoshadarshi he calls it. And chant Hare Krishna. That's it also. Like that. Okay, there's much we can say. I mean, this philosophy is unlimited. Any questions or comments or anything? Even if it's not related to the subject matter, anything? Abhi.
When we are talking about God to someone who doesn't believe the God or has not so much faith in God, and they says that why do I need to worry about after the death? Right now I have problem, I want to enjoy now. I will worry about after death afterwards.
You're always worrying what's going to happen in the future while you're here. Will I get enough money? Will I be happy? Will I get this girl? And will I not get her? Will I get this job? Will I not get it? We're always worrying about what's going to happen in the future now. So what he's saying is completely contrary to what he's doing.
You're right.
People are always worrying what's going to happen in the future, and that's the way this world is. People live in the future. They don't live in the present. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, forget the past that sleeps, ne'er the future dream at all, act in times with thee, and progress ye shall call. The most important part of life is now. What's happening right now? And if you live in the moment, then the future takes care of itself automatically. But people can't see the value of the particular moment. They're always making plans to be happy in the future. So what we say, yes, plan for the future by living in the present. So when we say yes, that they're not worried about what's going to happen after death, they are. But they're just saying that because they're always worrying what's happening now, or what will happen tomorrow. Will I get that new car, or somebody steal it? It's always like, whatever comes by way of some material desire, there's another part to it. There's some anxiety that comes with it. Will I get that promotion? And if I get the promotion, will I get the fair raise that I'm supposed to get? People are always worried. This is the world of what is called, there's two worlds. It's called Vaikuntha, which is the spiritual world, and the material world is called Kunta, a place of anxiety. Anxiety is pervading everywhere. Everyone's in anxiety. Will I live? I don't want to die. That's anxiety. I don't want to get sick. That's anxiety. I want my kids to be, nice kids, but still they're not. That's anxiety. So many things, People are always in anxiety. And this is the way the world is. But when you're practicing spiritual life, you do your best and you just depend on the mercy of the Lord. And if the Lord is pleased, everything becomes easy and wonderful. The whole thing is to please God. And how is God pleased? Simply when you try to please Him. It's not like, I'll give you an example. Remember, you familiar with the Ramayana? Okay, you remember the part where Ram, when the monkeys were wanted to cross the ocean? So what did they have to do? They had to build a bridge. So they were building bridges out of rocks. Ram was writing his name on the rocks, and the rocks were floating in the ocean. So in order to get the rocks into the ocean, the monkey soldiers were taking the rocks and throwing them in the ocean. And Hanuman was leading. And Hanuman was very powerful. He's the most powerful servant of Lord Ram. And there was a little squirrel that was there also. And he wanted to help. So he was kicking little grains of sand into the ocean. And Hanuman said, "Move aside, squirrel, this is man's work, He was pushing the squirrel aside. And the Lord looked at him, Ram looked at him and said, "Hanuman, he's doing as much as you are doing. You're working to your capacity, he's working to his capacity." That's bhakti. It's not a matter of ability, it's a matter of devotion. That's all. So whatever you can give, the Lord accepts. It's not a matter. Of course, if you have $1 million and then you walk up to the altar and give $1, then you're really not understanding the process. What does that mean? You have to give in proportion to what you can give, like that. So if you have a lot, give a lot. If you have a little, give a little. If you have nothing, just give your devotion. That's all. The Lord will accept the devotion, but he also accepts the offering as a means to offer the devotion. So, the squirrel, what was his ability? Nothing. But still, the Lord saw he was trying to serve. So that's how we see it. That's how God sees it. So one should not be proud if they have great abilities or great facilities. Simply the activity itself is what pleases the Lord, the mood of the activity. But don't take that in the wrong way and think, well, I have a lot, so I won't give anything, because he doesn't really need it. There's a story where one man, he wanted to make $1 million. So he prayed to the Lord, my dear Lord, I'm going to make $1 million and I'll give you $500,000. I'll give you half what I earn. So he went on to his program and he worked for a long time. He didn't make $1 million, he made $500,000. So he didn't give anything to the Lord. And his friend said, you promised the Lord, give me half. Yes, I asked for $1 million, he only gave me half, so he took his half already. So that's not the way to do it.
That's cheating.
So the point is that God doesn't need anything, but still he accepts everything as an offering. And we need to offer. That's the point. We have to offer. Otherwise we become, focused on ourselves. And we use God we try to use God to build our material life rather than using our material life to serve God. And that's the opposite. So we have to be careful of that. So, but in the essence, the glorification of God is the highest form of service. To glorify the Lord sincerely, not just with, not in a mechanical way, but in a sincere way. But you might say, well, how can I glorify God? I don't know much about God. And we have all of these books. You can learn about the Lord, what he does, what he looks like, what he acts, how he acts. Everything is there about God. And the more you learn about him, the more you become attracted. The word Krishna, or the name Krishna, means one who can attract everyone. If God can't attract everyone, he's not God. There's always something about God that is attractive to everyone. And attraction leads to attachment, attachment leads to love. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Kiran?
So in devotional service, we are being asked to one is about goodness. So there's kindness and mercy, right? In your previous classes, you said kindness is material, mercy is spiritual. What is the difference and how can you differentiate?
God is also kind, but we call his kindness a form of mercy. Because he doesn't have to give it, but he gives it. That's called mercy. Mercy that comes down automatically without any requirements. Give me mercy. We need mercy, so he gives it. And kindness is one of the ways he shows mercy. Sometimes we even say in this world, when someone is kind to someone, they're showing special mercy to that person. Mercy means a sense of kindness that is something that is coming from the heart, not just coming by way of etiquette or behavior. It's coming from the heart. So there's 26 qualities that are mentioned in the scriptures as the qualities of the devotees. What is the first quality mentioned? Kindness. first one out of the 26, the most important. So when you give Krishna conscious to others, or you help others become Krishna conscious, you're showing kindness. Because you're giving people what they're looking for. They're looking for happiness. That's where you can find it, in Krishna. Okay, yes, question? Mm-hmm. Well, the don'ts, you'll learn about the don'ts in due course of time. But we focus mostly on the positive. But then again, there is certain things that need to be restricted in order for one to practice spiritual life free from difficulties. So there are rules and regulations that are there. But when you follow the positive, then the negatives automatically goes away. Automatically. If you're following the positive. You bring in the light, the darkness goes. You don't have to chase the darkness away by your flashlight. You bring in the sun, the darkness will go away. You bring in God into your life, all the negativity of your life will go away. So we focus on the positive. We also say, well, you shouldn't do this because it'll make your spiritual life difficult. So there also are restrictions like that. But we emphasize the positive. When you're working with children, you tell them, don't do this, do this. When you're working with adults, you tell them, do this. You tell adults, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. They look at you like, what's your problem? Hare Krishna. Yeah, so we emphasize the positive, which is very numerous in variety also. When Prabhupada started the movement, he just gave us the positive. And then later on, he showed gradually some of the things we should avoid. But then it was easy to understand and accept. Such as intoxication. That's one thing we have to avoid. Anything else? Okay. Prashad for everyone?
Yes, thank you Maharaj for such a wonderful guidance, starting from the basics of the Bhakti and Srila Prabhupada's quotes on that. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all the devotees. Let's thank Maharaj by saying 3 times Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samast Charlotte Bhaktaganavrinda ki jai.
Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for being here today.
Prasadam is for everyone. Mataji, for you also, we have something. So let's have prasadam. Those who want to speak to Maharaj for a minute, we can spend some time. But otherwise, Maharaj needs to go to some other side of the town.
The books? Did you set up the table? No? Yeah, bring them. We have some books if anyone is interested. Okay. Mm-hmm.